Welcome to the Well Seasoned Librarian Podcast. I'm your host, Dean Jones. This is Season 13, Episode 16. Today we're calling all air fryer enthusiasts, of which I am one. Today we're diving into the world of air fryers all day, 120 tried and true recipes for family-friendly comfort food by Rebecca Abbott and Jennifer West. Becky and Jen, the masterminds behind the cookbook, are also the founders of the wildly popular Air Fryer Foodie blog and the massive Easy Air Fryer Recipes Facebook group, boasting over 2.4 million members. Wow. This long distance duo, Becky from Phoenix and Jen from Shreveport, bonded over their love of digital food photography and their air fryers. Was started with a small Facebook group in 2021, quickly grew into the blog, and by January 2022, they were featured in the New York Times and had reached 1 million Facebook followers. And now I'm taking you to my conversation with Rebecca and Jennifer, authors of Air Fryer All Day. Welcome to the Well Seasoned Librarian Podcast. I'm your host, Dean Jones. Today, I am very, very fortunate and lucky to be talking to Rebecca Abbott and Jennifer West, who have a brand new book that's out now called Air Fryer All Day. Rebecca and Jennifer, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Now, for the people that are not familiar with your work, can you both tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from?
Me? Okay. My name is Jennifer West. I live in Louisiana. I have been a food blogger and a content creator for a little over 13 years now.
And I'm Rebecca Abbott. I'm from Arizona, and I used to teach culinary arts and then met Jennifer and we became partners. And so I've been blogging for a couple of years now.
Now, Rebecca and Jennifer, you founded the Easy Air Fryer Recipes Facebook group that has grown to over 2.4 million members. Wow. Can you tell us a bit about how you two connected and what inspired you to start this online community?
Yeah, so I was already a food blogger and I had started into a food photography class over COVID in 2020. And Becky happened to also be a part of that course. As a blogger, I had already started like other groups and started an air frying group for the recipes that I was actually planning on making on my former site that I had. Becky and I became friends through our online photography course. And as the Facebook group grew, I started it with 8 people. And then the next week it had like 100 people. And then the week after that, it was 1,000 people. And I was like, wow, this group is growing really fast. And Becky and I had, become friends through the group and we had talked about it before. And she said that she was interested in learning the blogging aspect. And I decided, hey, it would be a great idea to maybe create a blog just around air frying with as fast as it was growing. Because I think the following week it jumped from like 1,000 to 15,000 people. It grew really fast.
Wow.
She said it was something that she wanted to do. She knew the photography part. She was worried about not knowing the blogging part. And I said, I've got that covered. You can take pictures and recipes, we can do this. So it kind of started from there. So the running joke is, as parents, we always tell our kids, don't talk to strangers. And here I am, like, handing her off my social security number and everything else because we're starting a business together.
Yeah, we hadn't actually met. We'd only met online in this in a Facebook group, and we'd known each other for about 6 months at this point. And we talked on the phone, and we had done some Zoom calls and stuff like that. So we'd seen each other, and then when this Facebook group started growing so quickly, she's like, we should do an air fryer group or an air fryer blog. And I'm like, if you're inviting me, yes. So I feel like I kind of invited myself into her idea too. But the next day we started the business, not really ever meeting in person. And with COVID, the first time that she actually flew out about 6 months later. So we finally did get to meet, but it was just it was just all serendipity that it all happened.
Now, your book mentions family-friendly comfort food. Can you both give us some examples of the recipes in the book that would be perfect for a weeknight dinner?
Yeah, we have a lot of great recipes that can, feed a lot. So, we've got different things like tamale pie. We have different styles of pizza, burgers. And then we also started making casseroles in the air fryer. So, chicken Alfredo casserole, caprese casserole. We've got a chicken pot pie casserole. Becky made this amazing harvest casserole. So things like that are that are great, but casseroles, as you know, they're usually hearty dishes that can feed, several people. So that's one of our favorite things to do. And one of the things that we really like in the book is being able to make those. What are your favorites, Becky?
Well, we also have simple, like when you're talking about comfort foods, I think of simple things too, like the whole chicken, the roasted chicken, or I think we have a pot pie in there, or even just something simple like chicken wings. It doesn't have to be some extravagant meal. It's just a simple comfort food.
What I like most about the cookbook for me is as a cook, I know that I didn't even use my air fryer in the first year. I got it as a gift, and we got it as a wedding present, and I just never used it. I didn't know how to use it. I think a lot of people like me, they just don't know what to do with it. And there's definitely, I feel like, a learning curve with it. How did you guys approach, taking it beyond like party snacks and using it for like everyday cooking?
It's kind of funny. I think that Becky and I, we joke that we're like sisters that were separated at birth or something because we're so much alike. I think one of the things that we both like is a challenge. And so as we were making these simple things at first, we started realizing we can make some really elaborate things in there. And honestly, most of that credit has to go to Becky because she is the culinary person. I mean, like she's really good at revamping recipes and testing things out. So like especially baked items. She was all about cakes and desserts and cupcakes, and she made those come out perfectly. And I tended towards more of the hearty foods, but it was a lot of like trial and error. And, when you are a food blogger and you're a recipe creator, a lot of it is just constantly testing recipes. And so we'd be like, hey, if we can do this in the oven, I bet we can do this in the air fryer. And I think one of the first things that Becky jumped right in because, she's not going to do anything simple. She decided she's going to start off with a cheesecake and just kind of go from there. So it really is trial and error. But one of the big things and the best things that I like about this book is because we've already done all of that trial and error, there's no guesswork when it comes to making these recipes. When you're making these recipes out of this book, they're going to work because they've been tested by both of us numerous times and we've had them come out perfect. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we both enjoy doing is just testing and doing that trial and error ahead of time and making something and maybe even trying to make it better in the air fryer than it was in the oven.
Since you launched your Facebook group in 2021 and hit 1 million members, I think air fryer has really grown from being a novelty item to something we all have in our kitchen. What do you think has changed since air fryers came out in the way they're used and the way people have been using them?
Well, I think that one of the things is Becky usually has a great analogy on microwaves when they first came out that not a lot of people had them and didn't really use them. And, now it's the same thing with air fryers. When air fryers came out, they were a little bit scared of them. I think the great thing about it is right before the air fryers became big, Instant Pot was big. When Instant Pot was big years ago, pressure cookers, I should say, and then Instant Pot came out to where everyone can have one in their household. When people were leery at first, you'd see the funny little memes about, the lid blowing off into the ceiling or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it took away like the scared piece of using an air fryer. So I think when the air fryer came around, people were like, oh, well, I can try this and it might be a little bit easier. And there's still some trial and error. And I think that as people started using it, they were like, whoa, this thing really is easy. And at first, I think air fryers people were using it for frozen foods, just grabbing their favorite frozen foods and heating them up. And then I think they realized, wait, I can do leftovers too, which leftovers are amazing in the air fryer. And then I think people like Becky and I came along and we were just like, hey, there are things that we normally make in the oven that we can make much faster in the air fryer. And just, I guess pioneering that and jumping in and trying and creating those things ahead of time. I think that's really helped a lot of people realize it's not just for frozen foods and it's not just for reheating. You can actually make a meal in it.
I think the other thing too is that air fryers are getting better as the manufacturers are making them better. Like there's the new Dual Blaze, which now there's a fan on the bottom or a heating element on the bottom and on the top. So you don't have to flip the foods anymore. And I think people are like, even Jen and I are writing directions on how to cook straight from the freezer. So you don't even have to, with slow cookers and things like that, you have to prepare ahead of time and take the food out. With an air fryer, you can just throw frozen steak in there and give it a couple extra minutes and it still comes out juicy. So you don't even have to thaw your food anymore. So I think the evolution of how we think about making dinner, the air fryer is changing that too. So as we learn it and use it more, it's progressing too.
Both remember when you first got one or wanted to get one, what it was like and what your thoughts were on it when you first saw it? Were you skeptical or did you immediately take to it?
I think oh, go ahead. I was gonna say, I think I was more afraid of, I was intimidated, which that's the number one answer that we hear from people of why they don't take it out of the box is they're intimidated by it. And I was like, I got to figure out how to use it first. It wasn't that I couldn't figure out how to make things in it. It was how to use it. So once I started playing around with the buttons and figured out what all the features were, and once I got the gist of it, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And like Jen said, reheating food. I have friends that's all they use their air fryer for is to reheat leftovers. And it drives me crazy. I'm like, you guys know it can do so much more. But once people get the hang of it and get they're comfortable with it, I think it can just open up a whole new world of possibilities.
Yeah, I think for me, it's weird because I never thought it would be so useful for cooking vegetables. And I think a lot of people probably miss out on that, but I'll never roast potatoes in the oven again now that I use it in the air fryer. And like Brussels sprouts in the air fryer is amazing. And there are hacks that just won't work in other appliances like the oven. Sure, you can roast stuff in it, but definitely is better in the air fryer, I think.
Crispy, I'm not a big vegetable fan, so I have a really hard time eating my veggies. And so I have a really hard time eating my veggies. So having crispy vegetables or making like zucchini chips, the first time I did that, I'm like, I could actually make a couple of zucchinis and eat these as chips without even thinking, hey, I'm eating I'm eating a vegetable. And I like that. And even Brussels sprouts or broccoli, it just gives it a little bit of a crisp that steaming vegetables it's just mushy and it's not the same for me. So
Yeah.
that's really helped. I've come a long ways with the air fryer.
What are some of the biggest advantages you think of using an air fryer from a cooking perspective? What do you think your personal opinions on the advantages are? I know you just touched on something, but are there anything else that you want to mention to the audience?
Jen, do you want to go first? Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I tend to make breakfast, especially on the week. I mean, like I use the air fryer all the time. So during the week, I'm usually grabbing something that's frozen or refrigerated and popping it in the air fryer. Like my daughter loves cinnamon rolls. You can make them in 5 minutes in the air fryer. I mean, and it's so easy to do. On the weekends, I'm usually doing a little bit more of a breakfast. So I'm doing like biscuits or toast and bacon and eggs. And I'll put the bacon in the air fryer and I love it because it's hands off. I don't have grease splattering everywhere. I'm not having to flip anything. It's literally pop it in the air fryer for 10 minutes and open up the drawer for perfectly crispy bacon. And all the grease is drained down to the bottom too. So that's one of my favorite things to do. And I can do literally breakfast in less than 10 minutes because, I've got the biscuits already made or the toast cooking. I've got the bacon in the air fryer. And then it's like using the last few minutes to just whisk up the eggs and scramble the eggs and I can serve them all together. And it's a super fast breakfast. So I love incorporating the air fryer almost every single day in everything that I do, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. We get really good use out of our air fryer.
For me, it's being able to make things and know what the ingredients are. I just posted our homemade air fryer Pop-Tarts recipe, which is it's a simple recipe, but for people who don't want to have all the preservatives and the extra sugars and things, what you're putting into it and what you're making. You can also keep track of, calories and things like that. But it's also, like I said, throwing frozen foods in there and it's just got so many advantages. one of my favorite stories, which I was so impressed with this, I had bought onion rings at one of our favorite restaurants, and the next day I threw them in the air fryer to reheat them, and the grease was actually pulled from the onion rings, and it was on the side of the air fryer. And I'm like, this thing actually pulled the grease out of my onion rings, made them crispier, but it took the grease, even more of the grease out of it. So I felt like, you know, it's just one more advantage. And making food, I'm not a big leftover fan. We throw a lot of leftovers away before the air fryer, because I like soggy or mushy microwave reheated food. So having reheated pizza, I mean, it's like brand new again, like when you first make it. So, or when you first make it. Because that's another one of our favorite recipes, is you can make your own pizza, and then you know what's being put on it, you know what you're making it out of. So I think that's one of my favorite advantages of the air fryer, is knowing what I'm making, what the ingredients are and what I'm making.
Yeah.
I like that. I want to go back to the online community that you created. Do you ever get really wowed by some of the recipes that the online community has created or mentioned, or things that people talk about on the online community?
Yeah, absolutely. I know last year, so we have a worldwide community, obviously. I mean, like there's people from all over the world, and tons of times it's great marketing for us too, and marketing on the side of, we can see what people are asking for, and then we can help create that to answer those questions. So I know last year and the year before, there was a big push of, can we make gammon joint in the air fryer? How do we do it? Can we make Yorkshire puddings in the air fryer? How do we do it? Can we do sausage rolls in the air fryer? How do we do it? And those were things that Becky and I started paying attention to, and we're like, you know what? Let's make these and answer their questions for them. And so that's one of the things that has helped us out. When they ask for things in the group, we'll create it for them and then share with them how to do it. So that's been a big help. But that group is, it's amazing. There's a lot of helpful people in there. And we have a ton of people that just love to help others. And like Becky said, in that group, we get people that are scared to use their air fryers. They got their air fryer, 2 Christmases ago, it's still in the box, but now they're ready to use it, And so it's a great place, because someone will post that and we'll share it in the group. And then, there's thousands of people saying, break it out of the box. This is what you should do first. Try this, then graduate to this, then move to this. So the group's been really good, and it does grow really fast because of that.
Nice. Now I want to ask you next, how does your book Air Fryer All Day reflect and focus on the versatility of the air fryer?
So I would say that you can make almost anything in there, and I think that helps people understand it. So in our book, we do have easy recipes, and then we have some recipes that are a little more advanced. And by advanced, I just mean probably has more ingredients, so we have some, easy recipes that may only have 2 or 3 ingredients. And then we've got other recipes that have tons of ingredients, not tons, but, way more than 2 or 3. And, people who are just getting started cooking and they're ready to move past that frozen or that reheating stage, this is a great book to have, because we can start at the beginning with something easy, such as bacon wrapped shrimp or jalapeno poppers, and then advance them to something like ratatouille or the chicken Alfredo casserole. So, we tried to make it to where it advanced easily, but also at the beginning of the book, we explained to people that, obviously not air fryers are going to work the same. And we talked to them about doing a toast test, which is just basically putting bread in the air fryer and then making toast. And if yours makes it at a different time than the one that we're using for this book itself, then you either need to add time or take away time. So, adding things like that into the book just really help people, I think, figure out, do they need to take away time? Do they need to add more time? And then also graduate people up with different recipes that they are able to make in the air fryer.
I love that. That's really, I like, because I mean, it is true. When I've had different air fryers, they do cook differently. And that's really brilliant. That's so helpful. Also, God, when you mentioned, I was really struck when you said ratatouille in air fryer. That's brilliant. I really like that. And is there anything that you guys, I mean, did you guys stick with a lot of tried and true recipes, or did you guys invent things or use things that you wanted to see how they worked out in the air fryer that were kind of a new idea?
So I honestly think Becky should answer this, and she needs to talk about her carrot cake, because that is a testing trademark of hers.
Oh, I see a dog is joining the conversation. What's the
Yes.
name of the dog?
Sorry, this is Loki.
Aw.
He's been running around. We rescued him. We adopted him about 5 weeks ago. So he's 8 months old. So
He's adorable.
thank you. He's the best dog ever. I can't even believe he's a rescue. Thank you. So he likes to sit in my lap all day, so sometimes it's hard to get work done. But I don't mind. So the carrot cake was a little bit of a challenge for me because some of the cakes in our book, one of my favorite cakes, the old-fashioned oatmeal cake, is just delicious. And you don't have to put frosting on it. It has a topping, like a crispy, crusty, sugary crust on it. It was really easy to air fry. It just did its job. But for some reason, my carrot cake maybe I had, too much of a batter, or it just wasn't, it just took me 16, 17 times to get it right. So I realized with baking in the air fryer that because the heating element is on top, so this is for anyone who's trying to bake something, let me back up the features. If your air fryer has an air fry function and a bake function, the difference is that it'll slow the fan down. The temperature will be the same, but this fan will be slower. So sometimes it'll take longer for it to cook. So I use air fry. So when I was making the carrot cake, it would cook on top, and it would seem like it was done, but then when you'd go to flip it out, it was still soup on the bottom. So it took me a little bit to figure out to put some foil on the top once it was done on top, and then to let it keep air frying for another 10 minutes or so, and then the bottom would cook as well. So it was a little bit of trial and error of figuring out how to make things work. And a lot of people ask, like, why do you keep trying to make it work? Just put it in the oven. If it doesn't work in the air fryer, let it be one of those things. But we are seeing a generation movement where we have a lot of people who are living in smaller homes that don't have a full kitchen. We're seeing people like college students in dorms where they don't have a full kitchen. They might only have an air fryer, or even seniors that are traveling, or families after COVID. I have a lot of neighbors that bought motorhomes and now they are traveling and working, and they're just in motorhomes. So they just have an air fryer or microwave or small oven. So we're trying to figure out how to make things work so that people can have what they want.
Yeah, I mean, you speak to something that's really something I hadn't thought about. I mean, for many people, this is a necessity item. It isn't just a novelty item like, say,
Right.
an electric pizza maker or electric quesadilla maker. This is really like a utile tool for most people.
And it's some of them, it's all they have to make food. So if they want something and they can't cook it in the air fryer, they can't make it. So we try to look beyond, I could throw it in the oven, or we have a lot of people that tell us that with hard-boiled eggs. Well, just put it on the knob. We get a lot of that. Well, sure, you can, but what if you don't have a stovetop? What are you going to do?
The one thing I've seen a lot lately is that there's no longer, in recipes, people are saying use it in conjunction. Like it used to be, I think about 5 years ago, you would see recipes for air fryer. That was in the title. Now I'll see a recipe and they'll say, and you put it in the air fryer. There's an assumption that you have one. Have you seen a change in that kind of thing lately?
I've seen a lot of bloggers where they're writing both directions, like air fryer or oven. I saw one the other day that had 3 directions in the title post. It was air fryer, oven, instant pot. And I just thought, wow, that's a lot of recipe testing. But it's showing you how to make it any way that you need to make it, which is helpful. It's very versatile. So I can see that. I think a lot of people do have air fryers. I mean, you ask, I don't think I've come across a lot of people that don't have one anymore, or they're getting one, or
Yeah.
no, but I've wanted to get one. That's usually the answer, if they don't have one.
So I want to ask you both, and this is a kind of a hard question to answer, but do either one of you have a quick go-to that you like to use the air fryer for that is something you use it for quite a bit?
I do. I mean, like, well, I actually have several, honestly. But if I'm making a quick dinner and I want to do something fun, it's usually going to be chicken wings because I love the way that chicken wings turn out in the air fryer. And I've made them so many times and know exactly what to do, how to make them perfect. I always get fresh wings at the store. So when I do that, I'm excited about doing, wings. But I also use it every morning with my daughter for breakfast too. So I'll put, sausage patties in there, or something like that. So I mean, like I use it a lot, but wings are probably by far one of my favorite things to do. And then for breakfast, especially on the weekends, I'm always grabbing my air fryer and making bacon in the air fryer while I'm making everything else. So
Jen's the queen of wings. We have a lot of great wing recipes on our blog and in the cookbook, but Jen does great wings. For me, one of my favorite things to make is the crab legs, because I'm the only one that eats them at home. It's just my husband and I now. Our kids are all grown and gone, but I'm the only one that eats them. So it used to be this big process of boiling, waiting for them to steam, and it'd be like a half hour for them to be done.
Yeah.
And then the cracking them open. But in the air fryer, I tried them, and I only put a couple in the first time I made it because you don't want to ruin something expensive. So I did it, and I just put them in for like 4 or 5 minutes, and it pulls. Now these are already pre-cooked crab legs, so it pulls the moisture out. It basically is like heating up crab legs, and then because it pulls the moisture out, they're hot, the meat's ready, and then they just snap. They just crack. And so the meat comes right out, and you don't even have to fight with it to get it out. So that one and the jalapeno poppers are probably the most used recipes at our house.
Nice. I love that. So Rebecca and Jennifer, I want to ask you, what's next for you?
gosh,
Well,
that's so funny. Becky and I, we think of that all the time. I mean, probably once a month we talk about, adding different things. And I think, one of the things that we're planning on adding for our readers, because people are really using their air fryers more, is we've got some meal plans that are going to be coming up just to help people, with a 30-day meal plan or a weekly meal plan on using their air fryer. So we also have a newsletter with a lot of subscribers, and we want to make sure that we can send things out to them on top of our bloggers or not our bloggers, but on top of our Facebook group that we have in there, as well as our website that has a ton of recipes. We want to be able to utilize a lot of that and help people come up with different meal plans to help them throughout the week, just because dinner is one of those stressful things. So that's one of the things that we've actually been talking about. We've talked about several other things as well. So we've always got plans to keep growing and moving along and helping people even more with their air fryers.
I don't think we sleep sometimes. I think we dream about what can we do? What should we be doing? What are we doing? Like it just never stops. I don't think when you're creative, I don't think your mind ever stops working. It's exhausting sometimes.
Well, Rebecca and Jennifer, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. For those listening, we're going to have links in the bio where you can go to the Facebook page, and you can also go to the links for buying the book online. This book is Air Fryer All Day. You're going to want to get a copy of this. If you have an air fryer or thinking about getting one, this is the perfect book for you. Rebecca and Jennifer, thanks for being on the podcast. I really enjoy getting a chance to talk to both of you.
Thank you, Dean. It was nice for you to have us on, and we liked meeting you.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Was my conversation with Rebecca Abbott and Jennifer West, authors of the cookbook Air Fryer All Day. You can find this link in the bio to purchase the book through major distributors, and you will find links to their blog and Facebook group as well. Next week, we'll be talking with food writer Bob Bradley about his new book, Eating Peru, A Gastronomic Journey. This book has all the best elements of travel guide, cookbook, and food science and history book. You, like me, will now yearn to travel to Peru and sample their cuisine. Until then, I'll see you at the library.